Coming up on Network Africa, Chad's Mahamat Deby sworn in as president as Alamaye Halina named the new prime minister. U.S. President Joe Biden hails Kenya's President William Ruto's intervention in Haiti, pledges to designate Kenya as a non-NATO ally. Plus, 11 people killed in a sugar factory blast in Tanzania. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. 11 people have been killed and 2 others injured in an explosion at a sugar factory in Tanzania's eastern district of Vomero. Authorities say the blast happened after a heavy-duty steam pipe burst as workers were starting production. As well as Tanzanians, citizens of Brazil, India, China and Kenya are among the dead. Alex Kama, the regional police commander, says his team is investigating the cause of the incident. The explosion occurred at about 1 a.m. local time on Thursday at a factory run by Deby Sugar Estates Limited. That's one of Tanzania's main sugar manufacturers. All the deceased were electrical and machine staff who were working in the control room at the time of the explosion. The sugar company has suspended all production activities in the factory. It's one of the biggest in the country. Chad has sworn in Mahamat Deby as the president of the country, completing a disputed transition to democratic rule. Shortly after, the country announced that Alamaye Halina would assume the post of prime minister after Success Masra announced his resignation from the position this week. In his first presidential speech, Mr. Deby said his government will focus on boosting Chad's agricultural sector, education, then access to water and healthcare. President Deby took power after his father, Idriss Deby, who had ruled for 30 years and was killed in fighting rebels in 2021. The long-delayed election took place on May 6th after 3 years of the younger Deby's military rule. Chad, an oil-exporting country of approximately 18 million people, hasn't had a democratic transfer of power since it became independent from French colonial rule in 1960. The U.S. President Joe Biden has pledged to designate Kenya as the country's first key non-NATO ally in sub-Saharan Africa as Kenyan President William Ruto makes a state visit to Washington, D.C. to deepen ties between the two nations. During a news conference at the White House, Mr. Biden said he plans to work with Congress to give Kenya the largely symbolic title. President Biden also hailed President Ruto's leadership, congratulating him on his intervention in the politically unstable country of Haiti. The 1,000 Kenyan officers preparing to deploy to Haiti will be part of a multinational force backed by $300 million in U.S. support, however, not American troops. President Ruto's presence at the White House marks the first state visit to the U.S. by an African leader for more than 15 years.
We're going to supply logistics, intelligence, and equipment. Matter of fact, some equipment has already arrived. And Kenya is stepping up with police, and other countries plan to do as well. The United States is going to support the collective effort here. And of course, Kenya won't be going it alone. We're working with Congress to provide $300 million to MSS mission and an additional $60 million for equipment assistance. And we've received and are continuing to bring major contributions from other partners in as well.
It's not so much about what happened in the past. It's about what we believe in, the peace and security of humanity. And we don't find that the U.S. is committing Kenya because the U.S. cannot commit Kenya. I am the president of Kenya. It's me to make that decision. And it's the people of Kenya to commit their own troops using their own structures. We've gone through the processes in Kenya. Parliament has approved. We have a clear mandate. We have a clear framework. And it is us, the people of Kenya, who made this decision in the interest of serving peace and stability as a responsible global citizen and understanding that insecurity, instability anywhere is insecurity and instability everywhere.
Tens of thousands of genetically modified mosquitoes have been released in Djibouti in an effort to stop the spread of an invasive species that transmits malaria. The friendly, non-biting male Anopheles stephanis mosquito, developed by Tech, that's a UK-based biotech company, carry a gene that kills female offspring before they reach maturity. Only female mosquitoes bite and transmit malaria and other viral diseases. It's the first time such mosquitoes have been released in East Africa and the second time in the continent. The release is part of the Djibouti Friendly Mosquito Program, which was started 2 years ago to stop the spread of an invasive species of mosquito first detected in the country in 2012. The country was then on the verge of eliminating malaria when it now recorded close to 30 malaria cases. Since then, malaria cases have risen exponentially in the country to 73,000 by 2020. The species is now present in 6 other African countries: Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Sudan, Nigeria, and Ghana. Well, joining us now to discuss this further is Professor Wellington Oyibo, the lead Andy Center for Excellence for Malaria Diagnosis, College of Medicine, University of Lagos. Thank you so much, Professor, for your time. Let's delve right into it.
Greetings to you.
Yes. Can you explain to us, how these genetically modified mosquitoes are expected to eradicate malaria?
Okay, thank you very much. Of course, one of the first things is to say that there are several interventions, several measures that are open, that are used for and of course, from the we now see that in Djibouti, they have an invasive mosquito, Anopheles stephanis. And the reason for introducing the GMO mosquitoes perhaps may be one of the strategies by which they want to reduce man-fly contact. And of course, from the way the GMO mosquitoes work, is that the male bites the female, and the lifespan of the mosquito, the female mosquito that transmits malaria, the Anopheles mosquito, is cut short. When it's cut short, then the mosquito dies, and then, of course, it interrupts transmission. But there are quite a number of issues there. What other strategies would they have used? Of course, Anopheles stephanis is very invasive. What have they considered? What are the overarching pros and cons? Have they looked at it? So those are things that are unclear. Why did they decide to do that? Of course, from the report, is a pilot implementation. And of course, there have been a lot of discussions, ethical discussion, environmental discussions, because when you introduce the genetically modified mosquitoes, you could interrupt the ecosystem. Don't forget that the male mosquitoes play a very important role in pollination and in agriculture. So how can they monitor it? Of course, that's the reason why they're doing implementation. But again, we have to unpack and see how other strategies have worked. Now they are targeting Anopheles stephanis. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Hello?
hear you. I wanted to ask you, knowing the controversies, genetically modified organisms, the controversies surrounding GMOs, especially here in Nigeria, as a mariologist, would you advise this as a solution?
Okay, those are the points I was raising. There are several interventions. At what point do you want to employ the bigger kill? Because, like I said, there are ethical considerations concerning the use of GMO mosquitoes. There are environmental considerations. So that may not be my first point, my first action to use, because, of course, now you have the vaccines, you have insecticides that are, effective. You have other interventions. You have seasonal malaria prevention. There are quite a number of strategies that can be used. What are the pros? That's where the challenge is. It might not be my first intervention to use, but just looking at the situation in Djibouti, perhaps at the level of piloting, they want to target the spread of Anopheles cephalae. They want to contain it. But again, there could be issues, and those are the issues we're talking about. So it might not be my first point. One, the country has to be ready. How do they monitor the effects? How do they monitor the effect of mass killing of mosquitoes on the ecosystem? So that's a challenge we have to look at. How does it disrupt the ecosystem?
Indeed.
Okay. So of course, at what time do you prescribe a good measure that will not result in deleterious effects? So can you introduce a similarly positive measure that could bring about a negative effect to the environment? So there are many points we can argue this, but it may not be my first choice to use.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Professor Wellington Oyibo, lead at the Andy Center of Excellence for Malaria Diagnostics. Thank you so much. Well, here in Nigeria, in a significant move to enhance international trade and economic cooperation, a high-level delegation from Nigeria and Benin Republic held bilateral talks on improving the free flow of trade and commerce between the two nations. The delegation, comprising the Controller General of Customs, Minister of Finance and Minister of Foreign Affairs, met with their Beninois counterparts to discuss ways to strengthen trade between the two countries.
This meeting is taking place at the Segbana border post in Benin Republic, which is the border between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin. The Nigerian delegation is received by government officials from both countries. Thereafter, the officials went into the meeting, which held behind closed doors. We later learned during the press briefing that the meeting is at the instance of the President of Nigeria and that of Benin Republic, who ordered the officials to strengthen social and economic relationships.
Border between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin in Segbana is open. Trade is to commence. On the Nigerian part, this is part of the ongoing implementation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda.
This is a start of, new relation on how we can make sure that we resume the work of our joint committees to make sure that when there is any type of issue between our population, our two countries, we have platform to discuss and to fix them very effectively.
On his part, the Controller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, says the meeting sought to advance regional integration between the two countries.
We've been having engagements across the table whose objective was basically to advance the course, the chart, which has already been created for us by Their Excellencies Presidents Talon and Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure closer working relations and economic relations between Nigeria and Benin.
Meanwhile, Governor Nasir Idriss of Kebbi State commends the president for resuscitating the free flow of trade between the two countries.
Our marketers that came from the northern part of the country will be lesser than what they have been experiencing. Instead of going to Benin Fort, Cotonou Fort, it's easier for them to come to this Savannah, where we want to establish this rifle between Benin and Nigeria.
This meeting, which is attended by high government delegations from both countries, is expected to significantly boost international trade between Nigeria and Benin Republic and create new opportunities for businesses and economic growth in the region.
Still ahead on the program. 5 Nigerian animators to attend a Nessie festival in France to pitch their latest project at the upcoming International Animation Film Festival. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. The UN Security Council has held its annual open debate on the protection of civilians, POC, in armed conflict, even as 2024 marks the 75th anniversary of the 1949 Geneva Conventions. The year also marks the 25th anniversary of Resolution 1265 of 17 September 1999, which first established POC as a matter of international peace and security and introduced it as an item on the Council's agenda. The Special Advisor of the Secretary General on the Prevention of Genocide, Alice Ndevitu, in her speech, raised an alarm about the situation in Sudan, telling the Council that it bears all the masks of risk of genocide, with strong allegations that the crime has already been committed. While others who addressed the Security Council called for compliance with international humanitarian law and human rights law.
I would like today to raise my alarm in a clear and unequivocal way about the ongoing situation in Sudan. This situation today bears all the marks of risk of genocide, with strong allegations that this crime has already been committed. Civilians are far from protected. Civilian populations are targeted on the basis of identity. In Darfur and El Fasher, civilians are being attacked and killed because of the color of their skin, because of their ethnicity, because of who they are.
The harm and suffering caused to civilians in 2023 signals an alarming lack of compliance with international humanitarian law and international human rights law. It also indicates that the Council's protection of civilians resolutions of the last 25 years remain largely unheeded.
I urge the Security Council to recall parties to uphold international humanitarian law and Resolution 2474 to prevent people from going missing in the first place and to clarify the fates of those who have. Amidst hostilities and as an integral part of any plan for reconstruction, states must make certain that human remains are recovered, identified, and returned to their families in a timely and dignified manner. They must ensure that persons detained are systematically accounted for and their families informed.
The UN peacekeeping mission in the Central African Republic, CAR, is helping to rehabilitate roads and bridges in the Bamingui-Bangoran prefecture in the country's north. According to UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, at the start of the rainy season, the roads were in a poor state, causing movement limitations and impacting prevention and rapid response to security issues. Beyond providing support to the national and local authorities in responding to violence, the peacekeeping mission also helps to resolve local conflicts through mediation.
Moving north to the Central African Republic, our peacekeeping colleagues there tell us that work is ongoing in the Bamingui-Bangoran prefecture in the country's north to rehabilitate roads and bridges, including part of the 5 main axes. The goal of the work is to better protect the population in the prefecture. The mission reports that work on the Bamingui-Ndele axis is already helping improve the speed of response by UN peacekeepers and national security forces. The security situation there remains generally calm. However, the presence of armed groups in the certain remote areas, particularly in areas rich in natural resources and close to grazing grounds, remains of concern. At the start of the rainy season, roads that are already in a poor state and those that will soon become impassable will cause movement limitations impacting prevention and rapid response to security issues. Beyond providing support to the national and local authorities in response to violence, the peacekeeping mission says it is also helping to resolve local conflicts through mediation.
Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. 5 animators will represent Nigeria at the 2024 edition of the Annecy International Animation Film Festival to present their projects. The chosen 5 have been trained by the French Embassy in Nigeria to refine their films and pitches in preparation for the festival in the city of Annecy, France.
Booth at the Animation Festival.
After a 4-day workshop of honing their craft and perfecting their pitches with the guidance of industry experts, these 5 animators have been selected to represent Nigeria at the 2024 edition of the Annecy International Animation Film Festival in France.
Operation and Cultural Affairs.
But while on the road to MIFA pitch session, the chosen 5 from over 20 applicants first present their animated content for a screening and pitch their project to other animators, producers and professionals in the animation industry.
When we mention Nigeria and cinema, both of them we think Nollywood. And Nollywood genre is bustling industry. It's successful movies, both on the continent but also all over the world. And I would like to point out that Nigeria is also a land of animation with an ecosystem full of potential and potential people.
Stop! I'm still fixing that. You ruin it.
Throughout the week, these creative minds participated in intensive coaching and mentoring sessions where they learned to shape the stories, refine the pitch decks, and deliver compelling pitches.
Or are you trying to ease your unending desire to become king amongst gods?
It's fantasy, it's adventure, it's drama.
With a mix of enthusiasm and nerves, the animators give a glimpse of their talent. Each project representing hours of dedication, creativity, and passion.
He has the burning desire for adventure as he feels there is a much bigger world beyond his little island.
We're not used to making animated shows in Nigeria. So, first of all, some people don't even know we make animated shows in Nigeria. So that is already a first issue. When you say, okay, we are creating something, sometimes people will believe that you can't make it, right? Which is why we have opportunities like this, where we show people what we can actually do. Also, power is a major issue because we work heavy on computers and when there's no lights. So, funding also another issue, but hopefully the more the animation society comes out, the more those problems would be solved. The power on is in God's hands.
It's still coming up, but I can tell you we're not where we started. We've made a lot of progress over the years. We have more studios now, more people working for international clients and also developing their IPs and getting to a particular level where we can start chunking out volume for content. So yes, we've grown over the years and it can only get better henceforth.
No matter how, anyhow, we are going to get it done. Last will be all right. That's how we are. That's the spirit. And so that spirit has permeated every aspect of our lives. So with animation, it's not even strange. So.
The pitch session, facilitated by the French Embassy and Animation Nigeria, encourages an environment of growth and collaboration, empowering these animators to bring their unique stories to the world stage.
So the goal of this training session is, of course, to make some co-production with international stakeholders, French, European, so that the project can be produced. Because it's not easy to produce animation content in Nigeria now. So that's why they need visibility. They need to attend international market to get some international stakeholders.
Animation is expensive. It's expensive to make, and even our films, Nollywood, if you notice, you can't compare the budgets of Nigerian films with films abroad. And animation is very expensive to make. 1 minute of animation can cost hundreds of millions, even depending on the quality and stuff like that. So that's the reason. And I think it's just something that a lot of producers in Nigeria haven't realized the potential returns they can make from animation.
The Annecy International Animation Film Festival is the biggest festival for animation in the world, and it takes place in the city of Annecy in France every year. It is a platform where the finest talents in animation showcase the best original animation film project in development. The 5 film producers selected, along with a delegation from Nigeria, will be sponsored by the French Embassy to the festival this year.
Well, congratulations to them. We wish them all the best. And that's a wrap on the program for today and for the week. Thank you so much for always watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.